So welcome everyone. Today is, I think, week six. We are on week six now, and the prayer was of June 27, 1913, by the mother. And we had with us the transcript and talk by Dr. Alok Pandey on the prayer. So, first, I would like to invite reflections from all of you, one by one, whoever is ready. Whoever is ready can start sharing reflections on the prayer.
Yeah, I can start.
Yes, please.
June 27, 1913. So the things that I resonated with or those stand out, I just be sharing those.
Yeah.
So to begin with, how he said that it is not about the actions, but the state of consciousness, the past, the future, everything is interwoven. So
Hmm.
it's like, you start seeing this dheere dheere, na, kind ke how it's all connected. So it was but beautiful to just read how it
Hmm.
works. And we always say कि जैसे, how के एक thought आया क्योंकि I would just slap that person and you don't even do it. But I've heard कि वो slap or karma of that slap you've already accumulated because in a way at some level, है ना, the subtle realm, that action has already taken place. So
Hmm.
somehow we always like, and I don't understand that the karma theory very well or anything, but
Hmm.
it's like again, like it doesn't matter how you act, but अगर अंदर है ना, मतलब kind of that part के where you're operating from again and again you reach that place is what is the most important.
Hmm.
Because superficially things move with action, but still you can feel, the good or like whatever the positive or the negative or good thing happened or darkness or light is probably the ones I'm looking for. जैसे आपने I think कल भी share किया था ना
Hmm.
about how does one know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, sorry, there was just some interruption. So,
Yeah.
moving on, everything in the world starts drawing us closer to what is deep within us. This is how life operates. So, again, this is like such an amazing thing because it's like, you are at a certain point, like talking obviously about from my own life. If I've discovered a new concept, or I don't know, discovered, but something new I could see somewhere, I see that everywhere I see, I mean, a lot of places I see, it's just that thing coming to me again and again. कि in
Yeah.
a text, in a talk,
Yeah.
somebody said something. So, शुरू में it felt really odd. कि how is this happening? Is this a coincidence? Kind of it. But somehow I think something in me is looking for that. So I'm seeing
Hmm.
that everywhere as well.
Hmm.
And how they say about even say Savitri and other sacred texts कि तुम जहाँ पे हो तुम्हें वो समझ आएगा, है ना. That's why
Hmm.
rereading thing कि जो हमारे in a way in our dharma also this, people read say Gita or the Ramayana again and again from beginning to finish.
Yeah.
So maybe उसका कुछ उसमें significance है. Even if I read fiction, like I used to read fiction, या एक normal
Yeah.
regular बात करें,
Hmm.
उसमें भी if you read a book 3 times, 4 times, like I don't know why one would, but I
Yeah.
used to,
Yeah.
you'd see different facets, personality of different tones that you didn't catch before.
Yeah.
So very interesting. And certain attitudes will take us to the divine and the opposite as well. Okay?
Hmm.
I mean, you have a choice, right? Like if you are willing to make it.
Hmm.
And divine unfolding is different in different individuals, and in the same individual, different in different stages of evolution and in different stages of consciousness. So we can't confine the spiritual freedom, the infinite, into some clear cut rule book of guidance. The way it was worded, like I just
Hmm.
found it really beautiful because it's a very difficult thing to explain,
Hmm.
and again very beautiful. And how it's like अपने दिमाग पे, you find it funny, like it's like your intellect or your logics, are just left standing, and it's funny how we want to put everything in our confined understanding,
Yeah.
right? Like I should understand, and okay, how would it work, how does it go and stuff.
Yeah.
So again, that Yeah, and that's why I think they talk a lot about faith. Na? Faith is kind of jumping into the darkness. You don't know,
Yeah.
and yet you have faith that, yeah. So, and yeah, and where mother says no preference and a state of equanimity. So,
Mm.
about the no preference, again, I think it's very beautiful, but it's like itna zyada, it's like, ingrained in the small, small, small things that you do that
Mm.
like I think Alokda said is very difficult, but we have to do it.
Mm.
And it's like one is not even conscious lot of times that there is a preference, but
Mm.
if you are in attention, you can see yes, उसमें भी preference है.
Mm.
And the difference between preference and equanimity, like not different, but how it was quoted separately, I like that, कि how preference was separate from equanimity because lot of times, and there
Yeah.
is a overlap as well.
Mm.
And I have never heard this definition of equanimity as well, that you are not thinking of the result.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it was quite it's nice. And then inner peace, and then awaken to the revelation, intuition, inspiration requires a basic quietude. It is almost same हो गया peace. So yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so better to err following the voice of soul than to follow the so-called practical wisdom and humanity.
Mm.
So this is something that I kind of a bit not struggle, but I see this a lot
Mm.
of times because a lot of time, it's like इसका use क्या है उसका, small small things के, the view that you want to, वो तो उसका कोई फायदा नहीं है. One should have things के जिसकी commercial values हो.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's again very interesting to have this. It's like again, it gives you a lot more, like it kind of solidifies the ground you're standing on, I feel, when
Yeah.
when I read these.
Mm.
Yeah. And then divine guidance does not operate according to our idea of good or bad. This is that result. It is driven by this or that result, sorry. It
Mm.
is driven by something which is the deep necessity of the soul to go through a certain adventure and
Mm.
evolve through it. Because this is a question which comes across a lot, right? Like why
बिल्कुल.
would the
Yeah.
divine do it? कि इसमें उसको क्या फायदा है मुझे इतना
Exactly.
trauma
Yeah. Yeah.
देके, but because we can't just use our limited mind, and then obviously there's yeah, different stages, like जैसे पहले भी बोला था ना कि how the divine unfolding is different in different individuals and in different times.
Yeah.
And one thing I would want you to elaborate on a bit, voice of soul is not the voice of conscience.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've read it before, but I would again, conscience that said would go for with right or wrong,
Mm.
and voice of soul is different. I guess it's beyond the mind wala hi hoga, but if you could speak
बिल्कुल.
on that.
Yeah.
And then sub, yeah, and yeah, I had loved that mother has defined truth as supreme harmony.
Mm.
Like it was beautiful to read that. And only to those who know how to listen to that note. Again, that was again, sab kuch they say is just happening and there's divine music flowing and stuff.
Mm. Mm.
One needs to know how to listen to it or how to breathe that breeze it
Mm.
contains. Yeah. And if you ever judge the divine will by the results, you will be misled and more
बिल्कुल.
likely, yeah, to end up. Yeah. And the last thing was that all extravagant illusions vanished. अच्छा, I think it's a prayer का ही बात है ना, and are transformed into, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm done then. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think ये जो आपने बोला ना लास्ट में judge the divine by the results. It's almost like when we have tragedies in life or when we have diseases in life. So we often, find ourselves questioning कि इसमें, as you were saying, कि इसमें क्या फायदा होगा, इसमें क्या, what does the divine
And
want to show me?
people
Yeah.
also, like,
Hmm.
they comment, कि, oh, that person was so good, he should
हाँ,
not have gone through
exactly,
it. And
exactly.
like they're trying to make some sense in this. And in my, I don't know, like in one of my examples, like a tragedy had happened,
Hmm.
and my driver, my dad's driver, I was going somewhere with him, and he was like, like that particular person was so good. Why did, God
हाँ,
had to take him? I know so
yeah.
many people say, like my landlord. he should have taken him. It's like we go to that extent, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, wow, like one can actually say that कि uski jagah, that person should have been called.
Yeah.
So it's just funny how we think that we know what would be the right thing and the justice in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So I will elaborate upon a few things that you have shared, Taru, but maybe later. I'll invite reflections from Jyotsna ji and Chitra ji if they are ready.
I resonate with what Taru has been saying. And
Yeah.
also, 2 points which struck me very strongly was one is the divine doesn't act according to a predictable or a set pattern.
Hmm.
His rule for each person, each individual, each situation are different in the same event, also in different situations
Hmm.
and at different time frames. And the second was that how we, for convenience, we interpret the conscience of a person as what the psychic is speaking or
Hmm.
what the inner soul is telling us, and it's basically to our convenience, and no, my soul said so, my inner voice said so, but actually you're seeing something which is an advantage to you.
Hmm.
It's basically the conscience, like in this transcript there are examples, but this is a routine thing which happens with us, wherein we think, oh, my soul is telling me, but actually that he's made it very clear.
Yeah.
So these two things struck me hard, along with what Taru has been saying about so many events, which I resonate with anyway.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing
Yes.
as Karu and Jyotsna shared, no? They are
Yeah.
same 3 points. I also noticed actually.
Hmm.
But another thing that about that inner guidance, no, Alabda talked in that. He gave the thing that inner guidance. It is
Huh.
very true. It is very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and every time if you meet a crisis or if you want an answer, and if you open a book of Mother and Sherbindo's writings, you will definitely get a clear guidance actually.
Hmm.
That is there. But other things, as Taru and Josna shared, no, that the same thing that I mean, it, that it is driven by the deep necessity of the soul, not according to our mental
Hmm.
logic, no, according to our plan. That
Yes.
also, yeah,
Yes. Yes.
these things only I noticed.
Okay.
Hmm.
So please keep
Thank
sharing if there is anything later that you want to share. So I would like to, sorry, take the first point that Taru was sharing. When even if I am thinking about an evil act or maybe slapping a person or something full of hate or jealousy or whatever, what is the cause and effect that immediately take place right and then, there and now? Because they are not separated in time. It seems like karma and the effect of karma are separated in time, but they are not. How? Because the moment when I'm thinking of slapping a person, the state of being that I am in when I'm thinking of slapping a person uh, is the result that I've gotten of that karma. It's like instantaneous. The consciousness in which I am, the state of being that is there, the mind will be restless, the mind will be burning. So that is the immediate result which I get. And I know that that karma is not separated in time, it is just parallel, it's like simultaneous with the thing that is done or thought or said. And even when we are saying words which are fuming full of hate or jealousy or anger or whatever, whenever we are saying those words, even in saying, we are burning, we are just, it's like cruelty upon us. So we are already reaping the results of that karma done, and they are not separated in time. I may have lingering effect, residual effects in time, they may come later on. I may suffer with some other diseases or whatever, but those are just residual effects. Yeah, yes, Taru.
I find this a bit confusing and hard to understand because, like, we know thoughts are abhi jaise it's like so many, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you just are stupid and unnecessary and, but I'm just saying nonsensical, right? Like, lot of times, and for the same situation, one time you're like, you want to, like, I don't know if the kid is not sleeping, you want to kind of shake him, and after 2 minutes, you want to hug him. Like, they don't seem to have so much importance, and yet each and every thought is having some effect. It's like it seems like a very huge thing if one is like, if I'm trying to, like, hear what you're saying, not trying to hear, but when I don't know, it just seems too intricate, and nothing is go on without any, with some effect.
Uh,
Each and every thought that is.
yes, yes. And one other angle that I heard on this is that we don't choose our thoughts. And when I was hearing this, I think it is very relaxing in nature. It's like, mother also shares that thought forms are as if they are traveling in the atmosphere. So many thoughts and waves and forms are traveling in the atmosphere, and they just keep on coming and going and coming and going. And it's like we see some, we don't see many others, and we are not choosing our thoughts, and we are not responsible for choosing or picking our thoughts. They are just traveling, like they are travelers, and we are kind of there. And for example, even this thought that I have to take a session, it's not a choice that I am making. It's like something which just gets done. It just gets done. I don't have a choice here. So that actually very, it was intriguing when I was hearing this, that we don't choose our thoughts. And I think it is easier said than reflected upon. So I want to go much deeper into this and reflect upon this, that is that true that we don't choose our thoughts? They just come to us and we don't have any choice. And the example that I heard that guy sharing was, he said that imagine that your wife runs away with your neighbor. Now, if you were able to choose your thoughts, you will say, okay, my wife has ran away with my neighbor. I'm fine with that. But you are not. So did you choose your thought? You didn't. As if a pattern of behavior was just ruling you. So most of the time, our tendencies or patterns of thoughts are ruling us, and we are not choosing our thoughts. So that was just something, maybe I just kind of went off track because I found it very intriguing to reflect upon. Yeah.
नहीं, अभी जैसे अब आपने जो एग्जाम्पल दिया, तो एज ए ट्रांसफर करवा दे, वो जो yeah, I think you go on. I lost my flow.
Okay. Come again whenever you're
Yeah,
ready.
it is true, Monica. Yeah, the thoughts are coming. I used to notice that actually.
Yeah.
From nowhere it will come. I used to wonder actually.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, another thing, like
Yeah.
जैसे आप this the center from where you're operating, na?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It feels like the main thing and the trajectory. So if the center of from where I'm operating, but I see these different thoughts that rise and fall in me, right? Some
Exactly.
according to my logic good, some according to my logic bad. So all of them again would have some cause and effect irrespective of where what my center of operation is, because the center of operation has to be every moment, na?
Yeah.
I cannot have a big picture कि अरे हाँ I have very good intentions and then I keep doing small things that
Yeah.
are not.
Yeah. It has to be every moment. Yeah. Yes. So let's see as we go ahead. I think we'll go deeper into these related to practical, day-to-day life. So I'll just begin to go through the transcript now. Yes. So as Alokda is sharing that it took 18 chapters of Gita, to make Arjun understand, and even that after the the part of Kurukshetra was over, even there we see that Arjun forgets the whole wisdom, and it is nothing but the old patterns of the mind overtaking, because the mind is used to those tendencies and patterns and living. And even when for a time being, when I am allowing myself to immerse in truth and act from truth, if I do not keep myself immersed in truth for a long, long, long duration of time, the old patterns and habits take over immediately, as if they're just lurking around the corner. And that is why Kabir says, साधो तब तक भय करे जब तक पिंजर में सांस. So as long as I have breath in the body, that long the sadhana needs to be going on. There is no end to this path. There is only a beginning. There can be only a beginning. And once the beginning has been made, we all know who have been on this path, who are treading, now more and more on this path, that it is just pure joy to just be on the path. And there is no extra result that I want from future that should happen of me being on the path, right? So I don't want to reap the benefits of surrender. Just the path of surrendering itself is so beautiful, and that is enough, for the person there. And then whenever we are landing up in confusions and states of chaos, we see that we cannot hear inner guidance unless there is a state of peace and poise within the being. Now the catch here is that when I am in confusion, definitely there is no poise that I am kind of having. There is no poise which is really kind of taking charge of the being, and that's why I am in confusion. So this becomes a catch-22 situation, that for hearing the inner guidance, I need a vital and heart and mind all needs to be in a tranquil state. But the very fact that I am under a dark state or a challenge or confusion, I am not poised. So how to hear the guidance? And this is why Kabir, again, I would refer Kabir again and again, I think he is reflected on these aspects at so many levels, that when you don't pay attention to these little instances in day to day life, sukh mein sumiran na kiya, dukh mein karte yaad, kahe Kabir ta das ki kaun sune faryad. So if you did not make it a daily practice, this life of exploration and going intimate with life, then when you land up in confusion, when there is a real trouble which you have to go through or par karni hai, then you will not be able to know how to hear the inner voice, because you have not been making a practice of listening to the inner voice in the day to day activities. वहां पे तुमने सोचा कि तुम्हारा काम चल जाएगा, तो तुमने कभी मौका ही नहीं दिया इनर वॉइस की आवाज सुनने का. तो अब जब काम नहीं चल रहा, then you will not be able to do it immediately. It does not happen like, just like in a click, or it may happen, God's will acts in a different way every time. So yes, and this Taru, I think, already touched upon this, that if one is ready for a spiritual life, and by spiritual, it means getting in touch with our deeper being, getting in touch with our deeper truth. If I am ready for it, throughout the universe will just throw ways and ways in which more and more truth will be revealed to me. I may read a phrase, I may read a quote, a person may say something to me which just deeply resonates. I may find a friend, or I may just find a video. Nowadays, we have these online talks and videos going on. Anything, and I'll fall into just the right place depending upon the intensity of the seeking. Had I been intensely seeking to find an answer or a resolution in my life, the answer will be given. If the aspiration is there, the descent is also there immediately, the descent from the heights, of the higher self. And this example, I was just looking it up, the example of Amal Kiran, KD Sethna. And the example was that when he was just kind of buying some shoes in Bombay, some market, and the shopkeeper wrapped up his shoes in a newspaper. And in that newspaper, there was this news, like a little article, kind of a sneak peek into Sri Aurobindo's ashram in Pondicherry. And immediately he knew that he has to be there, and he read the article, and that is how it clicked. So divine has the universe has as if the universe is conspiring for each one of us to get in touch with our deeper truth. Now, as we were reading, that the divine does not have certain formula or certain ways according to our ethics and morality, so anything works. Just like we say, everything is fair in love and war. And just like that, In order to get in touch with deeper truth, the universe can enact 1,000 kinds of melodramas, whatever works for getting me touch with my deeper truth. It may take a divorce, it may take a separation, it may take a broken marriage, all the ugly, so-called ugly things which we consider morally ugly, ethically ugly, all of that may be required to be used in this process of getting me in touch with my deeper truth. And we have seen so many stories where people, only owing to tragedies and losses and pains in life, have woken up to their truth of the being. So many stories are there. Very, very few stories are those where very easily things have been done, with all good stuff going on. More often we find that people have to go through all kind of so-called evil or tragedy, full of tragedy, things in our life, so that we touch our essence, and the shell of the outer crust, the ignorance, the crust of ignorance breaks, and we get deeply in touch with our truth. And that truth now manifests itself out in the world. It kind of shares itself with people and mankind. So yeah, yes. And this we already discussed, that whatever we are looking for, we are just kind of hinted or given clues to, for those questions that we are aspiring for. Yeah.
One thing I just wanted to say was
Yes.
that when we are in a frenzy or we are following a certain pattern, like when you started talking and you were telling about that, one thing which breaks that cycle or that monotony is awareness.
Mm, mm,
The moment you tell yourself, no, I have to stop it.
yeah. Yeah.
And you sort of train yourself to become aware.
Yeah.
It does come. It comes by repetition, by exercise. And once that awareness pattern sets in, you immediately stop yourself and know, no, I think I need to calm down first.
Totally.
Then I will think.
Yeah.
And then it starts coming like a habit. So the awareness also has to be made into a habit.
Bilkul. Bilkul. Bilkul.
And once we do it, it happens.
Yes, yes, completely. I think the thing that we say, confusion or haze or non-clarity in life, that is nothing but, as you said, the patterns going on in our life, and I'm just as if I'm just, वो कहते हैं ना, this ball is set rolling. So one after the other, the whole of our life and most of our life, we are just following those, patterns which we have never dared to look at. And in awareness, if we now begin to question and look at those patterns and see what are they serving me, what are they giving me in this life, we see that yes, there is no need for me to follow those repeated vicious loop of thoughts, or whatever the pattern may be running itself out in frenzy. So yes, uh, this has to become our practice in day to day life. Otherwise, it's just patterns ruling our life. And that's why we feel that I've been missing out on life, because we are not living at all. It's just patterns living themselves out. Totally. And when we take few moments to pause and reflect in day to day life, in little actions, little behavior things that we do in day to day life, we see that we have inner guidance at all time. 24/7 we have it. But as if we are not stopping to listen to it, because the voice is a very feeble voice. It's not a very strong voice. The voice of ego is full of clamor and noise, and that is why we hear it more often than the inner guidance. For inner guidance, one has to slow down. One has to really give it more and more time to immerse and soak, and to be in those silent spaces throughout the day. So yes, it has to become a habit. It has to become a habit rather than the tendencies and patterns being the habit. Yeah. Yes. So how to perceive in the inner guidance or the divine guidance? This is what the prayer is about. And And as we already shared, I think Taru touched upon this equanimity. You know, mother shares that what is the state in which we can perceive the inner guidance? It is a state of equanimity. I mean, this is such a beautiful paradox. You know, look at this. So I am restless. Through whatever activity I do in my day, I am seeking rest. I see that I am not finding it in external situations, persons, and relationships. And what I need to have clarity is rest. So it seems on the surface that if I do certain activity, it will bring me rest. The mind will get to rest. But owing to the fact that I am doing all those activities, but nothing is helping me to bring the mind to rest. So what is to be done? Just bring the mind to rest. Now it may seem very easy, and for those of us who have practiced this, it actually is not that difficult also. But one must be completely, thoroughly convinced, and one can be convinced only by practicing it. So we see that the mind is seeking, the mind is restless, and what the mind seeks is rest. So immediately, the moment I see that yes, there is a little troubled child who is seeking rest, you immediately bring the mind to rest without external kind of dependency on this person will say something, then I will be at rest. That situation will change, then I will be at rest. So that thing will never happen. Something or the other will keep on changing in the external situation. And yet, can I bring the mind directly to rest, the direct path, without the use of any intermediary external action? Is that a possibility? And that is where mother touches upon when mother says, call peace in the being. Call peace and rest in the being. Make the whole being full of peace and stillness. And then you will be able to hear inner guidance. So, to get out of this catch-22 situation, that I am in a fix, I have to find resolution in my life, how to receive inner guidance, put the being to rest. Put the being to rest. Tell the being that it is not going to find rest through any external activity. Nothing has to be changed externally in order to find rest. Rest can be right here, right now, in the middle of all the confusion. Because rest is our true nature. It is never far away from us. So if this can be done, and this is what Sri Aurobindo and Mother talk about self-mastery. Now, if I can bring rest in the being without the dependency on external situations bringing me rest, I think there I have made a little progress. And there immediately the voice of inner guidance become clear. Yes, who wants to share?
Not share, Monica. I wanted to ask.
Yes, please.
So, when you say, for example, that there's chaos and there is confusion, and then find peace in that by just switching off or stepping away from all of it. I mean, the question that's coming to me is how, because when
Exactly.
there is so much confusion and chaos, it's like literally just bartan gir rahe hain,
Bilkul.
and they are making so much noise, and how to find that peace in that moment,
Beautiful.
quieten the mind.
Yeah, yeah. So let us investigate this, Shreya. I think this is very important for each one of us. So what we call confusion in our life is only one reason. There is only one reason for confusion. Would you like to share? Would anyone like to share what is one reason for confusion?
Not having what we want,
What is it that you want?
whatever we wanted of the situation, not, and the situation is different. So when that alignment is off between our expectation and the reality,
Huh.
that
Nee, go deeper, go deeper. So there is a certain external situation that you want yourself according to you, right? But
yes,
what is the end result that you want? What will happen if the situation turns your way? What is the promise that that situation gives you?
peace,
Exactly,
contentment.
exactly. So there is where I wanted to touch upon. So the cause of any confusion in life is that I am making my peace dependent on external situation turning my way. Is that true?
Right. Yes.
Yes. Okay, this is the cause. Now I see myself suffering owing to this. Because I see that whatever happens, that is not happening what I want in life. And even one, for a moment it happens, something or the other changes, and then I am landed up again in suffering because now the mind wants something else according to its logic, right?
Right.
So as if I am moment by moment, step by step, I am away from my peace. I do not seem to find peace in the external situations. Okay? And this is where we call it a confusion. है ना? दिस इज व्हाट वी कॉल एज कंफ्यूजन कि मेरे हिसाब से चीजें नहीं हो रही हैं, जब तक वो मेरे हिसाब से, मेरी फैंटेसी वर्ल्ड के हिसाब से नहीं ढल जाएंगी, मुझे शांति नहीं मिलेगी. और क्योंकि बहुत अशांति है लाइफ में, दैट इज व्हाट वी कॉल एज कंफ्यूजन और हेज. Now the mind has to really try so hard for so many years, and it has to almost come down to knees, and it has to see that yes, I see there is no hope from external situation that it will bring me peace. The mind has to actually go down on its knees. Even if there is a least bit of hope, 0.0001% that the mind has कि नहीं नहीं यहां अगर ट्विस्ट आ जाए, यहां से मिल सकती है, तब तक आप छोड़ नहीं पाओगे उस चीज को. तो अगर अभी हम एक्सटर्नल सिचुएशन पे अभी भी डिपेंडेंट हैं, it definitely means that somewhere or the other I still have a hope that yes, if this situation turns this way, I will find my peace. And that is what keeps me stuck with the external situation and not, find clarity within myself rather than being dependent on the external situation to bring me peace. Are you with me?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
ठीक है. तो अब हो क्या रहा है, it just takes a few moments of investigation and it is all like almost the haze clears out. See, in those moments where you find peace coming owing to the fact that the external situation turned your way, what happens in that situation? Imagine that I wanted to get a kid. Okay, now at the moment the kid is out of my tummy, in those few moments I don't have any seeking for the moment.
Right.
As if my biggest wish has been granted.
Right.
ठीक है. तो होगा क्या कि उस मोमेंट में when all my seeking has been granted, the mind is free of desire and expectation and demands. When the mind is free of desire and expectation and demands from external situation, that is the mind where it is almost not there. The mind is not there. And that is what we touch. We touch happiness, peace, stillness, and clarity in life. So it may seem on the outward appearance that the external situation gave me something, but the external situation actually did not give me anything. It just as if it appeared that the smoke dissipated for a moment owing to the seeking being absent. And in that, the truth of the being shines in form of stillness and happiness. तो क्या शांति बाहर से आई? नहीं आई. शांति कब मिली मुझे? When did I landed up in peace and happiness? When the seeking was absent from the mind.
Right.
So this has to be understood, and this has to be understood so clearly that the mind now stops running for peace and happiness in outward experiences. Now it does not mean that I will not have relationships. I will still have relationships, but I will not be putting my burden of peace and happiness on those relationships. Now those will be a lighter relationships.
So I understand this as a reflection and something to keep in mind. But when some because conflict ऐसा तो नहीं है, knowing myself that even though I have an understanding of what you're saying, but I'm pretty sure that come, today, later today or tomorrow, there will be some moments where I will get caught in conflict, and I will get swayed away and be crowded by those
बिल्कुल
10,000 thoughts.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
So what you're trying to say again is that it's just a practice. Just
yes
stay with this clarity more and more and more. Come
बिल्कुल
back to it more and more and more, and that is what you mean by finding peace.
एग्जैक्टली आई वॉन्ट यू टू सी जब भी हम कोई नई चीज समझना शुरू करते हैं अपने बारे में या किसी भी चीज के बारे में इट बिगिंस विद अ मेंटल अंडरस्टैंडिंग और मेंटल कॉन्सेप्ट सो वी बिगिन विद थ्योरी नाउ हाउ अ थ्योरी बिकम्स अ प्रैक्टिस वी experiment with it in day to day life without experimenting it will not become a reality for me. And you are right when you say that I understand it in concept, but it has not become my reality. But then it'll be you'll be maybe giving up too soon. So I am asking you to tread on this path very slowly, make your life an investigative process, a total we have been scientists, Shreya, you would resonate with this. So can we make our life an experiment? So don't buy into the words I am saying or I am telling to you, or maybe what mother has told us so many times. Mother also says that try it for yourself. Check it out. Can the happiness and peace be given? And if you see that it can be given, the very same person who brought you happiness is not able to bring you happiness right now. Now is that not enough proof that the person did not come as happiness in disguise? Is that not enough proof? If I am a scientist of life, would I not see this really clearly happening, that the same person that promised me happiness seemed to have given me happiness, but now the very same person is in the house and it doesn't just affect me. Maybe I'm full of hate towards that person. Why? Where was the happiness coming from in those times where I felt that the happiness was given by those person? Isn't it time to investigate? Now what's the next but you have?
I don't have a but here. I don't have a but here. Thank you.
Yeah, most welcome, and thank you for asking, because without these intense queries, it's nothing but theory. And I deeply appreciate you taking it out. Yesterday also somebody was asking me that what can I ask, what can I share, because my life is full of conflict and I feel that I cannot contribute if I come up in the sessions and just share. And I told her that it's only conflict. Whenever the conflicts are shared, those are the one we deeply resonate with. Because people who are full of light and full of understanding, they cannot understand maybe that much clarity when one is rising from conflict, using maybe the use of handicaps and stretches here and there, and then rising up in from ashes almost. So conflicts may seem like a bad thing or an evil thing, but it's conflict that make our light of understanding even more clear and crisper and transparent. So do not underestimate the power of sharing these conflicts. I deeply admire you sharing that. So thank you for that. Yeah. Yes, so we were at equanimity, and again, as we were sharing, that it's a catch-22 situation, that I see that I have preferences. If the situation does not turn out my way, I don't feel nice. And now you're asking me to be equanimous. How do I do that? And that is what we were discussing, what Shreya asked, that if the mind still has a hope that any external person or situation can give me something or can take away something from me, we will be forever trapped in outer situation and external people and relationships. Now it is my willingness, if now I want to walk on this path of clarity and understanding and standing up for my own being, now it is my choice that do I want to just land up there again and again, again and again, again and again, or do I just want to turn within and take a stand for my own self? What do I want to do? What do I want to do? How long will I keep on banging my head on a wall? Because one really, it feels like cruelty when we do that, asking people for peace and happiness in our life. And poor fellows, the other people on whose shoulders we keep this burden, they themselves are searching for peace and happiness. How can they take this burden of providing us the happiness? No one can has that burden. And that is where we can now begin to truly have beautiful relationships in life, where we are not placing our burden on anybody's shoulders. You are never ever going to make me happy, and even then it's okay, we can be together, we can live out of a sharing of the being, we can walk this path together. I think that brings us, each one of us, to a lot of strength within the being. एक दूसरे के ऊपर से those victim and you inferior, me superior, all those labels we can kind of now kind of get rid of. And this is what we call as living light, living without any labels, images, burdens on our shoulders, just taking a stand for yourself, living a life for ourselves. And it may seem selfish in the beginning, but a person who has truly touched the depth of his being, her being, it is not a possibility that the blossoming of that person does not touch many other lives. So this is the biggest social service we can do. One cannot just stress this enough anytime. So Alokda is sharing here that in presence of clamor and chaos, the divine voice is muffled. And we have tasted those periods in our life where we are not knowing what to do. We are not understanding what to do. In one of the prayers also, Mother shares that there is so much of clamor on the surfaces, but I know where to go. I sink into the depths of my being and I plunge into thee. So this is where we have to go. When there is a lot of confusion, we are not able to connect dots in the mind domain, in the thought domain, in what we planned for our life, and what may have turned up in our life. When we are not able to connect dots, what to do, where to find resolution? Do not wait for the outer dots to connect. Do not wait for the outer logic to connect for you to get to peace. Just delve deeply in the depths of the being, and there resolution is 24/7 present in the depths and the calm of the being. One has to just practically experience it. There is no other way. There is no theory that can help us. This has to be done, and that's why it is a path of alone warriors. We may be traveling together, but the path is just, we all have to tread this path all by ourselves. I cannot plunge in your being, you cannot plunge in my being. I have to plunge in my being and you have to plunge in yours. The journey is alone. Yes, and then sharing this, that the soul or the psychic does not operate in the way of the mind or ethics or morality. Psychic may choose that I am born with, look at Astavakra, born with deformities, and look at his life. So the psychic may just choose anything that serves the purpose of the being. And it, on the societal, social level, it may look like, कि ये क्या हो गया इस इंसान के साथ, इतने अच्छे इंसान के साथ इतना बुरा कैसे हो सकता है? But that is only a very shallow level of understanding or perceiving from which we see our life. If the soul has determined the adventure for life, for that the soul will not even think for a second whether to take upon a deformity on my life, or a disease, or a challenge, or a broken relationship, or a bad marriage, whatever works for my inner growth. I will not even think twice, plunging into that adventure. So this is the strength. This is the divine strength that we have to tap into. The strength of the soul, which will plunge into any adventure for progress and growth. Why? Because progress and growth are linked very tightly with expansion of our limits with joy. Satchid Ananda is the basis of our existence. Suffering is not our basis of our existence. So for progress, for joy, anything that works will be done. And that's why we say divine has no formula according to what, the divine is working. And then Sri Aurobindo says that it's better to err following the voice of the soul than to follow the so-called practice, the practical wisdom of humanity, following the morals and the ethics and what logic says and what reason says and all that. And this beautiful example of Socrates, where he was forced to have poison and he had a choice. He could have chosen to escape, but he chose to drink that poison. And I wrote down a few quotes from Socrates. He says that I know nothing. Look at the humility from which he speaks. And then he says the unexamined life is not even worth living. And we have seen that how unexamined our own lives are, how unexamined our own beliefs and thoughts are on which we are basing our lives. Is it not the right time to investigate? How long shall we keep on waiting? How long shall we keep on waiting for some external, knight in shining armor who would come and save my life? No one is going to come. We have to take a stand for ourselves. The unexamined life is not worth living. As good as dead. As good as dead. Yeah. And this, I just was writing it down, Plato, his friend and student, Socrates, he said that on his last day, Plato says about Socrates, he appeared both happy in manner and words as he died nobly and without fear. This is like becoming a martyr almost for your truth. He drank the cup of brewed hemlock his executioner handed him, walked around until his legs grew numb, and then lay down surrounded by his friends and waited for the poison to reach his heart. So, a life lived for truth, even if it is a short life, is a worth lived life. And a life lived in falsehoods, in ego, in misery, and in suffering, we all know what kind of a misery that kind of a life is. Yeah. And these doubts and confusions that we all go through, they all have come up even in the stories of avatars, even Avatar Meher Baba, what kind of a misery he went through when he was not knowing what is happening to him. He was banging his head on the wall. Jesus Christ, he's saying, why hast thou forsaken me, O Lord? The Son of the Lord himself is saying, why hast thou forsaken me? So a deep darkness is plunging, as if his being. And that happens with each one of us. So we don't have to stray from the path just because for now I am finding myself in the plunges of darkness. Use the plunges of darkness even greatly, to get in touch with the truth of the being. Make it a dagger, make it a kind of, sword to go within the being. Because the intensity pain and suffering have, pleasures do not have that intensity. We don't have that much intensity in pleasures, but we have a lot intensity in pains and sufferings, because we cannot tolerate. And why there is intensity in pain and suffering? Because we know somewhere that our truth of the being is being deluded from us. We are feeling away from us. And that is why intensity or a longing to go back home, because I know that this is not my home. So that longing, if that can be turned into a tool to go within, that is where it can just, be taken as a stepping stone. And then again, example of Sri Aurobindo, when he lands up in the jail and he's asking the Lord, what had I done? I was just serving the freedom of the country. Why did you put me in jail? But then the divine plan was something else. And then he has visions of Krishna. Swami Vivekanand comes to him throughout this phase where he's in Alipur jail. So we can never fathom the ways of the working of the divine. It may seem that why has the divine made my situation so miserable? But what may seem misery to me right now will appear like a blessing a few years later when I am out of that misery, when I have taken that misery as a stepping stone towards my own freedom and truth. Yes. So this is what you wanted, to touch. Voice of the soul is not the voice of conscience. Voice of conscience is full of morality and ethics and reason. We always can put dots to dots together there. But the voice of soul is mostly irreasonable, illogical. There may be reason at times present in the voice of soul, but more often than not, it would just be requiring, as you said, a deep leap into the unknown. And that is how we expand our limits. That is how we chart into uncharted territories, by not knowing how we are going to manage, but yet we know that we will manage. There is a deep certitude in the being that if I am being shown the path, I will also be shown how to tread the path. I know that I have no clue. I know that I'm not equipped fully. But if I have been shown the path, then definitely there is some other plan in existence for me. So that is the voice of the soul. It's a deep mystical voice. Mystical. Why mystical? Because we don't know all the maps. Everything is not charted. And that is why it becomes as an adventure. It becomes as a continuous unfolding of life. Yeah, and then we begin with the prayer. Please keep sharing, otherwise I'll just go ahead like an express train. Just please unmute and share whenever you feel like. So, yes,
Okay,
yes.
Monica, something to say. And yes, that was a good thing going like an express train today. Yeah. So all I just wanted to say was like you touched upon, how that pain aspect and suffering aspect so beautifully. So this like, unless you get that extreme pain or that tragic event, like somehow I think it's very important for you to have that, to develop that faith also. Matlab, jab tak, like you were saying, there's even a little bit of hope that I can do it. I have control. I am the doer. That faith doesn't come in holistically, but again in extreme situations when you're sitting there, when it seems like the world has fallen apart,
Yeah,
and even for a second when you realize that reality that nothing is in my control, then when the fate dawns on you, it feels like it is a permanent tunnel. You have
beautiful.
touched that point
Yeah,
where you felt that you're not the doer. You do not, even like there's not a slightest doubt left, and
yes.
only pain or suffering or extreme situations, right? Like
Yeah.
when, I don't know, your world has shattered, that would help you in kind of seeing, forming that tunnel. Otherwise, we always take, shortcuts and
Yeah,
try to find a way around things.
totally, totally.
So, yeah.
Yeah, one has to taste it totally for oneself. Yes. Yeah. And even if we look at the basic aspects, and that is why self inquiry or questioning comes to our respite. Look at the body, billions of processes in the body. Are we even in control of even one process at all? Do we have even uh, a slight mastery over even one process of the whole body, the billions of processes that are running? We have not. We do not have. We do not have any intelligence or knowing. We may have science about that, but there is no control or mastery over those movements at all, as if the whole machinery of the body, it's running in its own intelligence, and we say I am the body. How can I be the body? I don't even know a bit of the body. I cannot even control a bit of the body. So how on earth do I claim that I am the body? And then we say I am the mind. Now, do we see that I have any control over the thoughts? No, there is no. Any thought comes and takes me into its plunge, and I have no control, no mastery over the thoughts. So how can I say I am the mind? Now, when I say I am the feelings, again the same thing. Feelings come and go, and they just deluge me in their tufan, in the tsunami of the feelings, and I have no control over them whatsoever. Even then, if I say that I am the mind, I am the body, I am the feeling, What a stupidity we are doing each day. What a stupidity. And in this stupidity, we live a whole life. We don't even pause to reflect, do I actually am this body? Am I actually this mind? What am I if not all these? What am I? So this is what needs to be reflected upon. And as Taru was sharing, once we get a practical taste for each one of us that yes, there is nothing that is there in my control, only then one can kind of, dip oneself in that taste again and again, again and again, so that that taste becomes my life and the patterns now lose more and more grip over my life. They just do not have that power over me to drag me into the chaos of life again. This is how we gain strength slowly. And that is why more than pleasures and joys, we need actually more so-called tragedies and tufans in life, which make us taste that beauty so deeply, so deeply, that we cannot have a turning back from there. This is the biggest gift one can have. This is the biggest blessing. Yeah. Yes. So June 27, 1913, thy voice is so modest, impartial, and sublime in its patience and its mercy that it does not make itself heard with any authority, any potency of will. Now, this should be enough to tell us that what voice are we following in most part of our daily lives. Do we follow the voice that has an authority or a dictate or a command which impresses upon our being? Am I following that voice? Or am I following or trying even to hear that voice within the being which can't even be heard? What am I following? And this will tell me, am I the servitor of falsehood, which is the ego, so called my stories and the things of the mind? Or am I serving the truth? Because if I am serving the authoritative voice, the one which comes with vigor and wants itself to be implemented, it definitely means that I have been being a servitor of falsehood, which is me and my stories. And we all know what we have been doing and where we are. We all know our inner state. We all know where we need to work and where not. Right? So this is for each one of us to become even more sensitive in our being. What voice am I following? Because at something or the other moment, I must be following some voice. It is not possible that I am not following any voice. So whether it is a modest or an impartial or a very sublime voice, full of patience and not wanting to push its agendas, or if it's a voice of ego or the clamor of the chaos. And what is that clamor trying to push? Why is that a pushing voice? Because ego is forever incomplete. My story is forever incomplete. And in that pushing, I want to tell that if this happens, I will be complete. So make this happen immediately. Make this happen immediately. This is where we get to know that it's the voice of the clamor and not the voice of truth. Yeah. Now, this does not mean that truth does not enact fast. Don't take, we should not be misled that truth is forever passive and it does not have any work to do. Wherever there is shining of truth, there is most intense action in our life. So we should not make another image that whenever truth is there, one needs to just delve back into passivity and nothing is urgent then. Many things become urgent, but whatever is coming from right space becomes urgent. Wherever we know that yes, this needs to be attended to urgently, we do attend it urgently. It does not mean that I'll be just lying in the bed and hearing the voice of the truth, lying in my contemplation and silences and not, moving my ass at all. It does not mean like that at all, at all. So we should just be aware of those images in our head. It is like a cool, soft and pure breeze. No, it औरन को शीतल करे आप हूँ शीतल ओए. उस दिन we were reflecting upon in that Kabir meeting that day. ऐसी वाणी बोलिए मन का आपक होए, औरन को शीतल करे आप हूँ शीतल होए. So speak from that place within you which is not coming from chaos, confusion and clamor of me and my stories. Only that Vani or only that word would have a cooling effect on the being. Why? Because it is the very nature of that voice to cool or to to be soothing. It is the nature of our being, our true being, to be soothing and sublime in nature. It is almost, we can say, it is the quality or non-quality of our truth or of our being, that it is soothing in nature. It does not burn you, it does not hurt you, it soothes you, it brings you to clarity more and more. So that is how it works. It is like a very relieving voice, like a cool, soft and pure breeze. It is like a crystalline murmur that imparts a note of harmony to a discordant concert. And discordant concert, we all have tasted. The clamor and chaos and confusion of whenever we are plunged into me and my stories, all the expectations and demands from external people, situations. We all know how confusing that can be. We all know how discordant that can be and how disharmonious it can be for our being, right? So this, when we are able to hear this voice coming from within the being, it imparts a note of harmony. It brings us closer to our truth, which is almost always harmonious. And that is why Mother says that in the middle of the confusion, if you want clarity and understanding, go deep within the being, delve deep into the depths of the being. There you have clarity 24/7. There you have harmony 24/7. It is not away from you. It is not a matter of time that it will come to you. Yes, in outer manifestation, it may take time and it will take time because old habits die hard. So if I'm used to talk in a particular way, if I'm used to behave in a particular way, it will take some time for me for that inner peace to shine out through the mental, vital and the physical. It's just a matter of time in the outer aspect, but inner aspect I'll be able to touch immediately without any delay. So the divine working creates harmony, tending towards harmony, and this line again should be sufficient to tell us in each moment of our day-to-day life, wherever I'm falling into a trap of disharmony, I should know that that is not the divine voice I am hearing. So immediately, if I can be sensitive enough, right, if I can take a step back immediately and fall again into that divine harmony, rather than giving fuel or petrol to the discordant, concert that was going on in the head. Yeah. Yes. Only for him who knows how to listen to that note. Now, we all are here, and that harmony is forever. It's like singing and singing and singing. The concert is forever on. It's not that the divine is sometimes on and sometimes off. The divine concert is forever on. But are we available? Am I there? Am I ever there? Most of the awakenings that have been, on the common platforms, we hear people waking up from 11 years of depression and becoming spiritual masters and all that. We see that the moment they kind of wake up, they say, this flower in my balcony, I almost never saw it. It was forever there. 11 years, this flower was there in my balcony and I was somewhere else. Where was I lost? और तभी माइंड को सबसे बड़ा इल्यूजन कहा गया है, द इल्यूजन ऑफ द माइंड एंड द सेंसेस. Whatever I am seeing, perceiving, I am just believing that to be the truth. Whatever I am thinking, I am believing that to be the truth. But truth is beyond all those haze, all that haze. So am I ever available? Ask myself, I should ask myself, Am I forever lost in the thoughts, and that is why I am so disharmonious within? Am I ever available to listen to the divine concert, which is forever 24/7, on and on and on? I may go and take a break and go to sleep for 5 hours, but the divine concert never takes a break. The divine concert is on even when it is IST time or EST time. It does not matter. It is not limited in time zones, the divine concert. And many a times, I feel, a few people notice I come sometimes, post something in the groups at odd hours, but I feel that, for somebody else living in another time zone, it is not odd hours. For people in Canada, it is waking hours, but for people in India, it may be sleeping hours. But can I ever say that the divine concert is off now? I must go to sleep. I cannot tune into the divinity. Why? Why must I keep a stoppage on that? When I don't stop my mind for a moment, listen to its clamor and chaos for 24/7, why should I keep a stop or bottleneck on listening to the divine concert? So this is something which I think we all need, we deserve. This is our birthright, to be tuning into this divine melody according to the alignment with each of our inner truths. For each one of us it would be a different unfolding, and that is what, it is shared later, that for each one of us it is a different kind of unfoldment, and that is what we have to respect, that is what we have to honor, and let it shine through in our lives, in whatever way it wants to shine through. So only for him who knows how to listen to that note, how to breathe that breeze, it contains such a treasure of beauty. Only for those who want to listen and who know how to listen. So this is what we have to tune. We were reading those lines in Savitri that day. A few of you may remember, tuning finite to infinity. This is what we need to do. We have to align ourselves to the divine harmony, to the truth of the universe. And then beautiful, magical moments are lived even in one day. One day seems like eternity. One day seems like I have lived for a year. It seems like a timeless frame that I have lived. Otherwise, one day would pass by so quickly, in daily chores of the day and thinking about things here and there and all that. Otherwise, the one day passes so quickly. But if I am tapping into each and every moment of the day, going deeply into each and every moment of the day, I will actually feel being tapping into timelessness each moment of the day, tuning finite into infinity. Yeah. And such a perfume of pure serenity and noble grandeur. Now grandeur, I was looking it up. Grandeur means impressive, vast, wide and large. Our lives, look at our lives, mostly we have lived, we all have tasted suffocated limited lives, haven't we? We don't need to talk about that. We all have tasted those lives, suffocated, limited in our time zones and in our limited mind domains. But don't each one of us want to taste a wideness and an expansion of the being? Don't we love falling in love? Why is it so mazedar, falling in love? Because it expands us. Our limits fall away. I am not a separate, constricted individuality. So can we fall in love with the truth of our own being? Can I fall in love with existence itself and not waiting for another person to love me? We have done that enough. So this is the challenge, and the truth is 24/7 waiting with open arms, not saying much, maybe giving us knocks here and there, that, hey, I am here, where are you looking for? So can we turn within the being and heed its voice, the voice of truth? And in that heeding, what happens? All extravagant illusions vanish. We are just gotten rid of all the illusions that delude our truth, that keep us away from our truth. all extravagant illusions Alukda was sharing here, that divine wants me to do this because it will give me success and all that. No, divine does not works for our success. Divine works for our progress, or for our growth, for our expansion, for our illimitation, not not limitation, but delimitation. This is what the divine works for. When I'm making myself dependent on another person, am I limiting myself or am I delimiting myself? And if I see that, yes, I will be limiting myself, the divine is never ever going to support me in my handicap. This is one of the reasons why our relationships, and most intimate ones, almost falter, because the divine does not want us to have an handicap of another person. It will tell us in some way or the other that, babe, you deserve something more. You don't deserve this limited identity that you're falling into trap with for. And these extravagant illusions vanish or are transformed into a joyful acceptance of the marvelous truth that has been glimpsed. And this is what Taru was sharing earlier, that once you taste it for your own being, more and more life, you will see that it will just align itself to that taste. So one has to taste for oneself. No one can taste for another person. We can talk about it, we can discuss about it, we can investigate and dissect this out, but you have to taste it for yourself. Each one of us, it is true for each one of us. And then it is transformed into a joyful acceptance. I am not doing it out of मुंह बना के कि चलो अब तो करना ही पड़ेगा और कोई चारा नहीं है. Not like that. In a joyful acceptance of the marvelous truth that has been glimpsed. Yeah.
In this, the universe also connives to make you meet people who are like-minded, which is probably a part of your growth again.
Yes, bilkul.
You keep wondering how out of so many millions have you met people who are seeking on the same thing. So it's the universe is conniving to help you.
Totally.
It's just that we don't take the help.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And when we are ready, as they say, as you were saying, as they say, when the student, just a second, I think something has popped up. Just a second. I'm so sorry. I don't know, some window opened up and it just started playing. I'm so sorry. Yeah. 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 So as you were saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So it's not that the teacher was forever absent. The teacher or the divine or the guru or the master or the whatever indications, they were always there, but I wasn't available to look at them. And the moment I become available, the moment an aspiration rises up in the being, immediately, like as in Savitri, at many places it says the divine descent is almost like an eagle, a bird of prey, falling, stooping down with its lightning wings of thunder, going down as if for a prey. Immediately, the moment an eagle sees a prey or a vulture sees a prey, landing somewhere, in the mud, it immediately stoops down to take it. And that is how the divine help comes. The moment I am aspiring enough, the intensity is just enough and ripe and mature, immediately the divine comes and answers the call. So this is, I think I've said enough, really enough. I'm almost out of breath. So would you have anything to share? Just share if any one of you have.
Yeah, Monica, this prayer is a very short prayer, but the explanation of Alokda is very beautiful. And again, you also explained it very nicely, actually.
Yeah.
As the Jyotsna shared, actually. Yeah, we are all, together now. in the maybe path may be different, problems may be different, but these are all helping us, no, together. Yeah, it is very
Yes.
true. It's very true.
Yes.
Very true.
Yeah.
Each and every minute I'm feeling that and I'm cherishing it all the time.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful. Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
And for Shreya also, I'm telling,
Yeah. Yeah.
even after all these years, I'm also experiencing all the thoughts and everything is coming, but actually that taste is there. So with that hope, we can journey together. Yeah.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's just a matter of time that the grip of outer people, situations, and
Yeah.
thoughts becomes just lesser and lesser and lesser.
Lesser and lesser.
Yeah. So they are not able to entice us that much as
Yeah.
they used to do a few
True.
years
True.
ago. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is amazing how people from all parts of the world or any part, any time zone, they all coalesce together to speak on a common subject, on something common which they think very intensely about and at a common level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Correct.
that's what amazes me, that I had done another course also. Again, it was the same feeling that how does the universe connive to make you meet only those?
Hmm.
Yeah. Correct. Yes.
Probably you try enough, but then even but you have to be open to it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. So great then. If not anything, thank you everyone for pitching in. Thank you for joining. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica. It's
Thank
very
you.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Monica, thank you
Thank
Thanks,
also.
you.
Monica. Today your engine worked beautifully.
Yeah. It's really
Thank you.
Rajdhani.
for some